We spend our lives chasing the feeling of enough. We create goals, craft visualizations, and commit ourselves to the path of success, believing that abundance, whether financial, relational, or spiritual, will finally bring peace. Yet, just as the goal comes into focus, a shadow emerges. The promotion is offered, and suddenly you feel compelled to pick a fight with your boss. The perfect relationship starts, and you create distance out of fear. The financial goal is met, and you initiate a rash, destructive spending spree. This is self-sabotage, the moment you break the thing you most desperately wanted. Why would the conscious self work so tirelessly for a goal, only to have the subconscious mind tear it all down? We assume this is a flaw in our drive, a weakness of will. But what if it is something deeper? What if the self-sabotage is not a flaw, but a clash of identities, a fundamental misunderstanding between the person you think you are and the person your shadow self believes it needs to protect? The ultimate spiritual block is not external resistance, it is the enemy in the mirror. The path to sustained success is not found in chasing more light, but in turning and facing the darkness you have locked inside. The concept of the shadow self, famously explored by Carl Jung, is often misunderstood as the repository of evil traits. But the shadow is far more complex. It is the container for all the qualities, desires, and self-perceptions we deemed unacceptable early in life. The shadow's true mission is not to destroy you. It is to keep you safe according to the outdated emotional blueprint established in your childhood. It operates on a simple, ancient logic of unworthiness. If I become too visible, too powerful, or too wealthy, I will be abandoned, criticized, rejected. Logic of familiar pain. The pain I know, struggle, lack, chaos, is less terrifying than the pain I cannot predict, success, stability, true love. Self-sabotage is simply the shadow self pulling the emergency brake on your future. It sees the new identity, the successful, stable, abundant you, as a radical deviation from the familiar, safe identity it was assigned. The sabotage is the unconscious mind desperately trying to restore equilibrium to the identity it recognizes. This explains the paradox of success anxiety. When you are financially stable, the shadow creates debt to restore the familiar chaos of lack. When you are creatively thriving, the shadow induces a crippling block to restore the familiar safety of invisibility. The block is a defense mechanism masquerading as destiny. The intellectual key here is to realize that the shadow is not the problem. The split is the problem. Every act of self-sabotage is a desperate, screaming message from a rejected part of your psyche, demanding integration. When we succeed by actively suppressing or ignoring the shadow, the success feels fraudulent. This is the price of the unlived life. The abundant life cannot be built upon a foundation of self-rejection. The spiritual self understands that abundance is not just about having more, it is about having more of yourself. When you push away your messy, emotional, yet unworthy parts, you close off the channel of your creative and energetic flow. You're essentially telling the universe, I can only receive this much value because only this perfect part of me is worthy. This is the spiritual blockage. The law of correspondence, as discussed in the Kybalion, states, as within, so without. If your internal reality is fractured, if 40% of your self-worth is locked in the basement of the shadow, then your external reality can only reflect the remaining 60% of abundance. The self-sabotage is a forced return to the level of worth you have internally accepted. The deepest fear of the shadow is not success itself, but the responsibility of wholeness. To be truly successful and integrated means you can no longer blame your shortcomings on the external world, on your past, or on the system. You're forced into a terrifying, sublime sovereignty. This is why we self-sabotage. Success forces us to look in the mirror and say, the chaos is over. Now what do I build with all of this freedom? For the shadow, a life without predictable struggle is a life without predictable meaning. The solution to self-sabotage is not to fight the shadow, but to integrate it. The journey requires conscious, courageous, and inefficient psychological work, the opposite of the quick-fix spiritual bypass. Pillar 1. The practice of shadow mapping, identifying the lie. The first step is radical honesty, identifying the core lie that the shadow is defending. Every act of self-sabotage is tied to a specific fear. The lie. Find the exact unconscious statement that limits your success. For example, Success means I will have to leave my community behind. Or, if I am truly happy, I will inevitably lose it all. The mapping. When you catch yourself sabotaging, procrastinating on a key task, creating unnecessary drama, or engaging in reckless spending, pause. Ask the shadow self, what specific pain are you trying to protect me from right now? The answer will rarely be about the present task. It will be about an outdated fear of abandonment or unworthiness from the past. Naming the lie disarms the trap. Pillar 2. The practice of conscious choice, the reauthoring. The shadow operates on automatic reflex. Integration requires inserting a moment of conscious choice between the impulse and the action, the pause. When the urge to sabotage arises, the impulse to scroll endlessly, to overeat to avoid the phone call, do not judge it. Simply acknowledge the fear. I feel the urge to stop because success feels unsafe. The reauthoring. Now deliberately choose a new action that validates the successful self, but does so inclusively of the fearful shadow. If the fear is, I don't deserve this money, the new choice is not aggressive spending, but a conscious, small act of self-honor. Purchase something small but meaningful, dedicating it to the part of you that earned it, and the part of you that is afraid of it. This tells the shadow, I see you, and we are proceeding to success together. Pillar 3. The practice of inefficient joy, the unquantifiable worth. The final key to integration is establishing a sense of self-worth that is entirely non-transactional. The shadow believes worth must be earned through suffering or proved through achievement. The joy. Deliberately engage in acts of inefficient joy, activities you love that cannot be measured, monetized, or optimized. A long, pointless walk, cooking without a recipe, dancing badly in your kitchen. This is the spiritual antidote to the shadow's calculation. When you allow yourself simple, unearned joy, you send a clear signal to the shadow that being is sufficient for worth. You are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you produce. This radical acceptance of your inherent value is the only way to fully open the channel to the infinite abundance that the universe offers. Conclusion. The sovereign integrated self. Self-sabotage is not a failure of character. It is a profound opportunity for integration. Every block is a message, every avoidance is a map. The journey of the sovereign individual is to gather all the fragmented pieces of the self, the confident producer and the fearful child, the ambitious creator and the unworthy mess, and to grant them all a seat at the table of your life. Only then, with a unified identity, can the flow of success become a steady, unshakable current. The ultimate breakthrough is not escaping your shadow, but understanding it. The ultimate act of courage is not chasing the light, but embracing the whole. Choose to see the sabotage not as a sign of failure, but as a sign that your true potential has become so massive that your outdated system can no longer contain it. Now, it is time to build a container that is strong enough, honest enough, and loving enough to hold all of who you are. The voice of the shadow whispers, "Stop, you are unsafe." The voice of the integrated self replies, "I am whole and I am ready."